Johnson, what's up with Moo?
Hey, Sam. It's great to be on your live broadcast.
Thank you. Today we're talking with Greg Johnson on What's Up with Moo. He's an Iowa-based technology consulting and support provider, and he's a fan of Kalona SuperNatural. Greg, why don't you just start and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, originally I'm from Washington, D.C., but I've been coming to Iowa ever since I was a kid, and even to Kalona before I really lived out here. We had family in Iowa City. That's where my parents are from. And my grandmother knew some folks down in Kalona that we would go visit, an Amish family. And so Kelowna was like kind of a second home in a way whenever I wasn't in DC. And then I moved here when I was in high school. And I've been doing tech work, believe it or not, ever since I was in high school. And immediately when I started at the university as an undergrad at the University of Iowa, was doing tech work there, taking courses on computers, and just continued that as my career throughout my life, really. So, and that's what I'm doing these days. I've added to the tech work the component of web design and some marketing, which was really an effort just to help promote the businesses where I was doing the computer work. And what I found was, if I'd help these businesses with their marketing, with their web presence, which some didn't have at all, each year they'd call me back to do more work. They'd have more employees and more computers. So I thought I should learn marketing so I can get more computer work. Yeah.
Yeah, everything kind of starts running together when you get into computers, even though sometimes they're pretty different disciplines, networking versus programming versus
exactly
design. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're joining us, this is Greg Johnson. He's an Iowa-based technology consultant. You can follow him at aboutGregJohnson.com, which is down there at the bottom of the screen, and resourcesforlife.com. We'll put that in there in the chats. If you have questions for me about our Kalona SuperNatural products, or Greg about why your computer doesn't work, we'll troubleshoot anything you got best we can here. Sure. So Greg, tell us about how you found, you were familiar with Amish and Amish farms.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you found Kalona SuperNatural and or your interest in organic food.
Well, as a younger child and a kid, coming to visit here, and having these Amish friends, I was somehow at that time even fascinated by this sustainable technology they had with windmills that would pump water that would go into a holding tank, and how they had basically this whole independent off-the-grid living thing before it became popular. Of course, everybody's trying to do that now. And but I just thought it was really interesting the way they were living and the small scale nature of it and such. Well, fast forward, several decades now, and basically, I think an interest that most people have is how can we promote our local economy? How can we promote small business? I learned that some of the local neighborhood family-owned restaurants are working with local family-owned farms to get their produce and other, their food that they use for the restaurant. So I've wanted to be promoting and supporting that. I was off milk for many years just because this would be like 15, 20 years ago. I just found milk, it wasn't tasting good. And the milk that would come in the gallon containers, you remember the gallon containers? It was like that plastic that you couldn't see through.
Yeah.
And whatever was in it, whether it was juice or milk or whatever, it would always kind of taste like plastic, especially if it had been sitting in the sun at all. Anyway, so like milk tasted either like plastic or cardboard, and then throw in some extra chemicals of whatever they, put into the cows, and whatever the cows ate had chemicals, and it was just like a chemical soup. And it could have just been coincidental, but I thought I was having some skin issues, like with acne or something from milk. So I just got off milk for a while. Well, then about 15 years ago, I was visiting some friends. They had me over for dinner, and they had milk. They said, "Do you want some milk? It's organic." And I said, "Well, tell me about that. What's with organic milk?" And they told me, and I thought, well, this is good. I'm going to try this. This will be an interesting test, because I assumed I had a problem with milk. And I had some, it tasted great. And I had some more, and then I had some more. And then I went and bought some, and it was really expensive back then. But I thought, wow, this whole time I thought I had a problem with milk, and I probably just had a problem with whatever extra chemicals were in there, and the flavor issues were all related to how it was processed. So, with your products, it's that experience of having fresh milk that doesn't taste like chemicals, it doesn't taste like it's been processed, and it's great, and it's good for our local economy. It's good for the cows and the planet and the people that drink it. So that's all a plus.
Yeah, we there's lots of organic companies, right? First way, you got to get away from conventional milk, where it's sterilized, it's full of GMO grain fed cows. But then there are still a fair number of organic companies. We like to think that we're a little different in that we are not only beyond organic in a couple ways. So it's from grass-fed, pasture-grazed cows on small family farms. Our average herd size is about 35 to 40 cows. They don't use any herbicides, pesticides. There's never any GMOs. And then while it's really good milk, we don't distort it. So our minimal processing is really about two things. It's pasteurized at the lowest possible temperature. A lot of even organic companies are going to ultra high temp pasteurization, which basically sterilizes it, kills everything. You don't even have to refrigerate it most of the time. They still put it in their refrigerator because they found it wouldn't sell if they didn't. And then we don't homogenize either. Homogenization is when they smash up the cream and disperse it throughout the milk. In ours, the cream rises to the top very naturally. Right. So between the ingredients, which is primarily grass, 16 different types of grass in the pastures, and then the minimal processing. That's where you get the very, very different flavor and very different ability of your body to process it.
Interesting. Yeah, because I bought some milk that was in these cartons, like the juice cartons, and the expiration date was like months out, and I thought, oh, this is good, it's organic, and I thought this will be great, I'll just keep these little boxes on the shelf. And no, it didn't taste the same. I'm sure. I suppose you could have a cow in a lab and feed it some sort of organic something, and then high heat pasteurize the milk or something, and you could still call it organic. Organic just is like one component of many important factors. So
there's some lab in California. They're trying to take molecules, the milk molecules, put the milk molecules together, and then call it real milk. Made in a lab. And there's debate about cows and the environment. Well, like you said, our Amish farmers, have been sort of part of the regenerative agriculture movement before, where there was a regenerative agriculture movement. Really if you drive out there, like drive out to Kalona, there's the dusty dry fields where they're doing corn and they're spraying stuff. And then there's these green, ecological, and really cultural oases that are our farms that we get our milk from. It's a really special kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's honestly it's our brand and sales manager sitting over here. It's difficult to do. Most small dairies who kind of do what we do, they don't grow very much. We're in 3,500 stores nationwide. And it's a real challenge because other multi-billion-dollar companies that are owned by foreign corporations even are able to buy up shelf space, and then they ultra high temp pasteurize. Stuff stays on shelves longer, so it's easier to work with. We just really appreciate you and other folks like you who are committed to healthier food and a healthier planet, and still support us and buy our products, even though it's tough going. You could always buy something cheaper for some plastic thing for $1.
Yeah, that's the leap that one has to make, because initially I was looking at, say, your product and comparing it to this product that'll last for 3 years in a carton or whatever. And I thought, well, this is milk and this is milk. And, you look at the price tag or the convenience of something, and we forget it's not really all the same, even though it's all called milk, And so for what the person's actually getting, it's a great value, and it's even though it's still in that category called milk. I suppose it's like people that are into wine. You know, there's a bottle of wine that's $5 and a bottle of wine that's $100, and some people would say, "Oh, isn't it all wine?" But you know, it's not really. And I had tried some of these, you know, almond milk, soy milk, oat milk. There are these different ones, and even a cashew and hazelnut milks, or drinks, I guess you could call them. And I found that if I was trying to compare that to milk, it was a big disappointment because it's not really a replacement. I mean, you look on the ingredients are water and some cashews, you know.
Right.
So, and I found for myself, I mean, I still might enjoy that at some point, but if I would think of it as flavored water, which sounds funny to say, but if you say, oh, this is a flavored water, then you taste it and you go, oh, wow, this is great. This water tastes like hazelnut, you know. And but you know it's not milk. If you try to tell yourself it's milk, it's just not going to work. And there's not really a substitute for good quality milk. I tried making coffee. Well, I have a steamer to foam the milk, you know. And if you use, even if you use like 2% milk or different kinds of milk that don't have the cream in there, it just doesn't quite foam up as easily. And I found with the Kalona SuperNatural that whole milk, it just really creates a nice cup of foamed milk for the coffee. Yeah.
We find technology consultants up to French, classically trained French chefs can tell the difference in their cooking too. This is our trained chef, not exactly. Joe Miller's our brand and sales manager. He's been in the industry. Well, you were helping your dad milk cows when you were 13, 12, or younger? Younger. He's been doing this a really long time. Yeah.
My first memory of going out to the milk house was probably around 4 years old. So,
wow.
So yeah, I've been on the farm for a little while, but then actually helping farmers sell their milk, process their milk, get it to the market since the early 2000s. And I love the dairy industry, love what local farmers can do for their communities. And Sam mentioned it earlier, the oasis, ecological oasis that becomes their farm. I had one of our farms that I went out to right after a major thunderstorm where as I was going to it, there was actually mud out on the road. Wow. Because of runoff. You know, it just dumped rain, and you had a runoff some of the local farms. I got to that farm, grass-fed, pasture-grazed farm. Yep. So we're out there stumping on it. Has deep root systems of the grass, has some native grasses, and they're out there stumping, and it looked like they hadn't gotten rain. I'm like, did you get rain? He's like, oh yeah. He said it dumped. So, there's no runoff. Yeah. He's like, yeah, because the ground is conditioned, and you know, I mean, we hear a good lawn is aerated every once in a while. So the cows are out there doing that all the time, and they have a deep soil system that just soaks up that water. And I love that idea that not only can we be supporting our local farms, but they are in turn improving the soil, improving the land mass for future generations. And you see in the old prairies, we're here in the Midwest here, bison used to roam the ground. They would congregate in an area and stump and defecate on the ground.
I call it chomp, poop, and stomp.
There you go.
It's the key to saving the planet.
Yeah, they fertilize the ground. And then there's stories of back at that time where the buffalo would leave the area, and the next year, that was one of the most fertile growing areas in the whole region. And that's what I believe we're encouraging for our farmers with the pasture graze, is getting back to really enjoying that, or revitalizing that soil. I want to go, Sam, I heard Sam mention earlier about the ultra high temp pasteurized milk not needing to be refrigerated. He's absolutely correct, until the bottle has been opened. And I just, for anyone that might listen, I want them to know, once the bottle's been opened, all milk is very susceptible to the atmosphere and any bacteria that's naturally floating in the atmosphere. So it's important once it's open to refrigerate it. And here's what I don't think some people recognize with even with that long shelf life, the milk, because of the way milk is, it should be drank within 7 days after opening. That's whether it's been ultra pasteurized or low temp pasteurized. So once it's opened, you're getting the same shelf life with our milk or an ultra high temp pasteurized. So why not go with the milk that has more natural vitality and more natural goodness in it?
That's
Sorry,
right.
I'm going down a line now.
No, I love hearing that. You know, I stumbled into some videos on YouTube that were showing these really devastated areas of land, and then they would show the land over time, how these farmers would come in and they'd have cows and chickens and some hogs maybe or whatever, and they'd run them all over this ground, and like you're describing, it revitalizes this land that looked like it could never be brought back. And that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that as this added benefit that, you know, I'm drinking this milk and then somewhere else we're avoiding runoff and erosion and loss of ground topsoil. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, dairy farms are under a lot of pressure, whether big or small or conventional or small or organic. And you know, Amish farms would be particularly susceptible to that, right? They don't use a lot of technology or any, and so it's not like they can go, you know, create a website and go start marketing their milk with, you know, conventional advertising or anything or processing. So, you know, we really see ourselves too as a protector of not only the ecological but the cultural, their cultural and their community in a way that nobody else in the country is really doing.
You have really kind of like one hand helping these farmers, and then this other hand has to deal with this sort of like an ocean in a storm, you know, with these waves of this market that's constantly changing, and, you know, different stores come and go and different competitors, and like, you know, and they don't have to deal with that, fortunately, but it's a lot to handle. Yeah.
Yep. We have a couple people comment here. Sue Fladbo says, this milk is very good. Yes, thank you. And our friend Courtney tunes in a lot. He says, I absolutely love your chocolate milk. Would you ever do me a solid and give me a strawberry? That'd be up to Joe.
Courtney, we'll have to work on it. I know we got to take care of you, so we'll have to work on it. That would be a good one. I'm telling you, it would be a white strawberry milk because 90% of the strawberry milk out there has food coloring in it, which obviously we would never do here. But I think if we put the right marketing on the package, right labeling, it would still stand out as a strawberry milk on the shelf. And I think there would be an organic strawberry milk that tastes like the spring strawberries. Sign me up. I like a good strawberry milkshake as much as any. So.
Oh, here's another. What do you call a cow in an earthquake? A milkshake. That's funny. That's about as bad as my introduction, my funny introduction there. Thanks for joining us, Courtney and Sue. Well, Greg, you got anything else you want to chat with us about? We've actually gone long today.
I guess those were the main. I'm looking at my notes now. I didn't look at them till now, but I was just thinking there were different topics I wanted to share, and that was basically it. Yeah, those were the key points.
So, as an IT, as a marketing person, you got any suggestions for us, or maybe we should take that offline? We don't need all of our competition.
No, actually, I was thinking about how it's like a free masterclass in marketing, just like following your feed and watching these videos. Oh, there was that video, the first one I caught actually of yours, from the Kalona cheese shop factory there on the corner.
Yep.
What's the intersection there?
Oh, I'm blanking.
Yeah, Highway 1 and
Highway 1, yeah, just outside Kalona. Yep, the Kalona Creamery you're talking
Creamery,
about.
yes, exactly. And we used to stop there as, family trip down to Kelowna and always stop and check out the market in that area and other things. But so I had shared a video from about 10 years ago that I did, but it was neat seeing you there. And also you mentioned some of the local products that you try to promote through that outlet, like the Jimmy Jack's barbecue sauce, which is amazing. And I remember when they first showed up at some of the local grocery stores, they have their number 1, 2, 3, and 4 sauce flavors that are quite good. And then also the Oasis hummus that you mentioned, right? Do you carry their products there? And there's a lot of good going on with local restaurants and food producers and farms. And so it's kind of a neat thing to be aware of. I really appreciate what you're all doing. So
Yeah, and I think you and I had talked about how the farmers got together and started a creamery, but then that's not enough. We had to protect them from all the other elements in the industry that would not be helpful. So we started a marketing company, Kalona Organics, and then the brand Kalona SuperNatural, and then a trucking company, and then a warehouse and logistics company, and then a small distribution company. And I think overall that collection of companies is really interested and is actively helping local food entrepreneurs figure out how to source, develop, and then bring their products to market. And I know we'll do some future live shows on that. But what you caught at the Kalona Creamery was just a very little piece of that.
it's interesting because there are efficiencies of scale. So, at a certain small point, it's hard to be as efficient. You reach a certain point where you have really good efficiency, and it's not just efficient, but it's effective, it's impactful, it's really delivering something good for everybody involved,
Mm-hmm.
And then once it goes beyond that, once you become, the Milk Warehouse International, then it's like too big and it's impersonal and it's not local. So it's hard to find that sweet spot of being big enough that you can do some really neat things, but not so big that it becomes impersonal.
Yeah, that's kind of where we float. Most people get to, Joe could confirm this, but I think most people get to about our size or in that area, then they sell out. They just sell out to a venture capitalist or somebody or a big conglomerate, and then they come in, swoop in, and change everything. One of our competitors, our friends, is a grass-fed organic dairy provider, and they got bought out, and they just immediately ultra high temp pasteurized everything.
Wow.
Yeah, and just totally changed it. Now nobody knows it. The packaging's still the same, right?
Yeah.
But it's different if you look closely, and that's another reason we're doing this show, is just so people can ask questions, and we're very transparent about who we are and what we do, and want to be accessible to everybody as well.
And anyone in business really faces that challenge, that if you're looking at a profit loss sheet or balance sheet or whatever, you're looking at your business, you're trying to figure out what are the metrics, how are we going to measure success. If that is including, the impact on the local economy and the impact on the land and how healthy is the product, all of those factors, then you have a different decision process, But if you immediately say, you know what, I'm going to draw a line through all those things, all that matters is profits, that's another way to make decisions. And when you decide, based on that, yeah, you ultra pasteurize, or you just bring in robots to do everything or whatever. But if a person holds on to some sort of values and principles and goals that aren't always visible, then you come out with really what ultimately is better for everybody involved, but not always the easy path, not always the simple one. But definitely interesting and worthwhile, really ultimately worthwhile.
Yeah, yep.
Correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Greg, thank you for joining us again on What's Up with Moo. If you're watching and you'd like to be a special guest, you can reach us, of course, at our website, KalonaSuperNatural.com. There's a live guests page under our community page where you can come on. We'd love to talk to you. And again, if you're looking for pasture grazed, grass-fed dairy, organic dairy from small family farms that is minimally processed, AKA never ultra high temp pasteurized. We pasteurize at the lowest possible temperature and non-homogenized with a delicious cream top. Come find Kalona SuperNatural. We're your dairy. So thanks again, Greg. And you can find Greg at aboutgregjohnson.com and Resources for Life. If you watch a little conversation, you'll see that he sounds like not only a good technology consultant, but the kind of person who can help you figure out different parts of your business and make it run better as well. So thank you, Greg. Appreciate you joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Greg.
And thanks, Joe, for jumping in here to answer your questions as well.
Right.
My pleasure.
Join us next time. Thank you.